Now that you understand computer hardware, the next thing you understand is software. Software is what we call any information stored on your hard drive. So there are two kinds of software: programs, which are sometimes called applications or apps, and files. Okay, so let me explain programs first. So what are programs and applications? Computer programs or applications are a lot like television and radio programs. Televisions and radios are always the same physical object, but the program you're watching or listening to is constantly changing. There are educational programs on history. There are programs which are pure entertainment, like a soap opera. There are programs which provide news and information. There are game shows, there are talk shows, dramatic programs and sitcoms and so forth. The one enormous difference between radio/television programs and computer programs is that television/radio is passive. You just sit there and watch or listen. Computers are interactive. You actually use a computer program to complete a task. So, for example, while a television program might teach you how to paint, a painting program in a computer lets you use the mouse to actually draw images on your computer monitor and save them for retrieval later. So does that make sense so far? Televisions and radios are tools. They run a variety of programs that you observe. Computers are tools, but they run a variety of programs you interact with. So what are files? Files are the electronic data you create with the programs. Is that a little confusing? All right, let me clarify it with another analogy. In order to explain the difference between programs and files, I want to use the analogy of a garage. Okay? Computers are a bit like an electronic workshop. Computers are just like any other tool you might have in your garage: a saw, a hammer, a crescent wrench, a drill, you name it. Okay? Now, just like tools in your garage, computers are used to do work, to complete a task. But unlike most tools designed to do only one thing, like cut wood or tighten a bolt, computers are a tool that can be reconfigured to do hundreds of things. They can be used to write a book, to edit photographs, to record music, to do your taxes, to play games, and so forth. Now, all of these different tasks rely on a type of software called programs. The information you create with those programs are a different type of software called files. For example, you might use a photo processing program to edit and save pictures, and those pictures are your files. You might use a music production program to record songs, and those songs are your files. So think of it like this. I'm going to stick with the garage analogy, okay? Imagine you have a garage filled with tools. For example, saws and paint and screwdrivers and drills and routers, etc. Okay? And many objects you have created using those tools. For example, tables and chairs and dressers and beds and desks and cabinets and shelving and so forth. The garage is your hard drive, okay? Everything in your garage is software. The tools, the saws and paint and screwdrivers and drills and routers and wrenches, are called programs. The items that you made with those tools, the tables, chairs, dressers, desks, cabinets, shelving, are called files. So, if you haven't installed many tools inside your garage, you can't build very much. And you haven't installed many programs inside your computer, you can't do much with it either. When you first buy a computer, it might include a few simple programs like a calculator, a dictionary, and a digital typewriter called a word processor. But beyond that, the metaphorical garage of your computer is pretty much empty. If you want to do more with your computer, you need to install more programs. How do you install new programs? Well, there are two common ways. One is to purchase a program from a store, which is typically saved on some kind of disk. You'll insert that disk into the disk drive of your computer and follow the instruction manual to learn how to install that program onto your hard drive. The second way to acquire a program is over the internet. This process is called downloading. Downloading is slightly different from using a disk, and I'll actually have a separate video on how the internet works, and I'll explain downloads in more detail then. So if you're confused by downloading from the internet, don't worry, we'll cover more of that in the future. So you have your disk, or you have your download. So now what? Well, think of new computer programs like a new tool still packaged inside the box. So let's pretend you bought a new table saw. What's the first thing you have to do when you get that table saw home? You have to take it out of the box and install it, right? it doesn't just magically set itself up in your garage unless you're Snow White and a bunch of woodland creatures set it up for you. So computer programs work the same way. Whether your new program is on a disk or downloaded from the internet, it's still sitting inside of a kind of digital packaging box. So once you have the digital packaging of a program on your hard drive, it must still be installed before you can use it. So again, I'll explain more on installing new programs a little later, but for now, I just want you to understand the concept. New tool in your garage. Step one, it has to be inside your garage, removed from the box. Step two, the tool can be installed. New program in your computer. Step one, it has to be on a disk or downloaded to your hard drive. Step two, the program can be installed. How do people build and create computer programs in the first place? Computer programs are created with a specialized series of instructions called source code, or a programming language. And they're also called code and languages for short. So just as we can write books in different spoken languages like English and French and German and Italian and so forth, computers use programming languages like HTML, C#, JavaScript, C++, PHP, Perl, COBOL, Python, and dozens of others. Now, the whole purpose of this project is to teach you how to build a website. So you will be learning some basic languages made for creating things on the internet. And just like spoken languages, computer languages also have a proper syntax and format. So when you learn how to write code, you're not just learning new words and terminology, but you're also learning their grammatical structure and the grammatical structure of that particular language. Now, there are not many people in this world who can speak several languages. Computer engineers are just the same. Most of us only learn a few computer languages. We don't know all of them. And just like a spoken language, you can be very fluent in a computer language, or you can be someone who barely understands it. Now, a majority of the internet languages are simplistic enough for a browser to understand your code by directly reading the file you wrote. Languages for creating software programs are a little more complicated, and the final code needs to be run through a process called compiling. A good analogy to use is food. I mean, compiling code is like a digital version of cooking. Like once you bake a cake, there's no way to disassemble it and individually remove the milk or the eggs or the flour. So once an engineer compiles his code, it becomes a singular digital object, like a cooked dish of food. So while engineers write code to create programs, the programs write code to generate files. Just like the engineer uses a specific language to create the program will use a specific language to store the file. Now, this is important to understand because it explains why you can't access any file with any program. Programs can only read and write files written in a language the program understands. For example, if you try to access a music file in a program designed to edit photographs, it will likely result in the computer giving you some kind of error message, telling you it doesn't recognize that file type. Now, don't worry, it's not going to break anything. It just won't open the file. So when I teach you how to code a website, the file you're working on will actually be opened in 2 programs simultaneously. One program will be used to write the code, and the other program will be used to check your work. Understanding exactly what code means is important because that's the whole purpose of this project, teaching you how to write computer code which displays websites. So, how are we doing? Are you keeping track so far? So software is all the stuff stored electronically inside the computer on the hard drive. The hard drive is the piece of hardware which physically contains the software. Software consists of programs, which are your tools, and files, which are your work. Programs are written in code or languages, and there are dozens of computer languages. When programs are done being written, they are compiled into a final product by a computer programmer. Files are made from code which is read and written by programs. Programs can only read and write certain file types. If you try to access an unreadable file, the program won't know how to open it. So, when you're new to computers, understanding the difference between programs and files can be very confusing, and I hope this kind of clarifies things for you. So, thanks again for watching, and remember, kids, the world owes you nothing until you create things of value.